Broadcasting live from the Business Radio X studios in Atlanta, Georgia, it's time for Atlanta Business Radio, spotlighting the city's best businesses and the people who lead them.
Hey, welcome to the Shrimp Tank post-show wrap-up. Every week you can catch a replay of the entire podcast that we just did on shrimptankpodcast.com. Every week we bring in some of the brightest and best entrepreneurs in the state of Georgia and some of the budding entrepreneurs, the young entrepreneurs that will have the ideas of the future. We had on today our guest, who's Jim Hall, who's the CEO of Triatek. We had on Stephanie Carvajalino, who has Beast Nation and just written a book and done some unbelievable stuff and is in the top 10 of the KSU contest for entrepreneurship. So that's unbelievable. So I want to thank both of you for coming on the show today. Jim, during our interview today, you brought up some things that I thought were very, very interesting. One, I wanted you to talk more to entrepreneurs that are watching this post-show recap about this notion of what you mentioned, which I took as like finding talented and coachable people and trying to keep the right people in the organization and know the right ones to get rid of. And so as a CEO of a large company, you know, how do you keep that going to find out how to keep the good apples and eliminate the bad apples?
So I think it's the most important thing you do really as a CEO, in addition to setting the strategy, is trying to make sure you've got the right people in the right positions. And it's a process that I had to go through because you find yourself hiring for positions and hiring people who are different from yourself. I grew up as a salesperson. Hiring engineers was difficult for me and trying to find the right engineer. Hiring people to do quality systems, jobs that I wasn't necessarily very familiar with. So there's some tools that are available and there's some things that are out there that I think are good guideposts for you to use in trying to put a real solid plan together and finding those people, whether it's really writing out a detailed job description, involving people both in and outside your business to help you refine that job description, and then really thinking through your interview process, because you'll find yourself gravitating easily towards people who are just like you, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're the best people for your business. And it's the most important thing you do as a CEO. If you do it right, your job gets a whole lot easier. If you do it wrong, your job gets much harder. So it's not something you should approach haphazardly. It's something you should be doing with care and diligence, with a plan and a purpose.
So, Stephanie, I was real excited to have you on the show, not only because you are one of the top 10, you're remaining finalists for KSU Top 100, and you have to compete against your sister, but you also spent a lot of time since you were, 6 or 7? Inspiring young entrepreneurs. So when I see these videos of you in Colombia doing these huge speaking events, what do you say to aspiring entrepreneurs to get them excited about the possibility of something better?
I mean, I think the most important thing is that you're never too young to start an idea or to start a business, because that's what people tend to say, that you are too young, so that would be a good idea in some years. So if you have an idea, just go for it and make it happen.
Well, Jim, you when you talked on the show, which I thought was amazing, is that you bought this business Triatek out of Chapter 7, not Chapter 11, Chapter 7, which is amazing. And I think one of the hardest things for entrepreneurs that may be watching the post-show recap is how to build culture. Culture is innately hard to build to begin with. It's even harder sometimes when you take over a new company or a company that was failing and then building in that new culture. How did you go about doing that, and how did you talk to young entrepreneurs about trying to instill culture in an organization?
Some of it was intentional, how we went about doing it. A lot of it, I think, comes back to what are your core values as a CEO? How do you conduct yourself? How do you talk to your employees? What kind of vision and strategy are you putting out there? Those are kind of the key cornerstones for what will build that culture. For me, a lot of it goes back to the fact that I had so much confidence in the people in the building to do the right thing and to have better ideas necessarily than I would. I didn't necessarily have to get into the nitty-gritty of knowing everything about how our product worked, but giving people the freedom to create, to do their jobs as they wanted to, keep them on the right path towards our company's vision, had a lot to do then with establishing a culture that really became innovative, that rewarded taking chances. And we even talk about that as being some of our core tenets. You know, be willing to take a chance. If you have a problem, fix it quickly. and learn from it. And if you do those things, nobody in our company has ever been fired or reprimanded for making a mistake. But we are really happy when people take risks, educated risks, because that drives innovation. And I think that was a reflection of my own level of risk taking in buying this business. So culture oftentimes, I think, is a reflection of the CEO and the kind of character you are and the decisions you make and the leadership you provide.
I always say that attitude reflects leadership. Last question for both of you in here is, if you had one book you might recommend to somebody that you read over the last year or two that you think could help them learn about sales, leadership, entrepreneurship, what book would you recommend?
Well, I think I'm going to start by reading Stephanie's.
I was like, I have that answer.
That'll be the next book I read, I think. There's a ton of books that are out there. I took a few of the principles that are core to me from Good to Great by Jim Collins. I found that to be very helpful.
I will definitely say Parents and Coaches. It's a book that we wrote when we were like 13, 14, and 15, and now we just launched like our second book just to tell parents, like, we, like young entrepreneurs, we have great ideas, but we need to know how to make them, turn them into a reality.
Well, thanks again to both of you for coming on the show. And Jim, for those that are interested in getting more information about Triatek, your company, and what you do, how can people watching the post-show recap get in touch with you?
Feel free to visit our website, which is www.triatek.com, or you can call us at 770-242-1922.
Thanks for watching the post-show recap. Again, you can catch an entire replay of the entire show we did today on shrimptankpodcast.com.